Well, welcome to the Metal Institute of Thrashology. My name's Mike, and it's a pleasure to meet you, John.
Great. Pleasure to meet you. This is awesome.
Yeah. So I spent the most of today and the last couple days listening to your new EP. Love it. My only question is though, Curtis built it as skate punk to me, and I think it leans kind of into the thrash metal. I think it's like a good borderline of like metal
Cool.
and punk. So like
Nice.
I think he like kind of sold me short on it. But it's a great album, and
Oh, thank you.
I've never heard like instrumental punk before. I thought it was pretty cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's just something I've been just sort of found myself going in that direction with it over the last few years. I do want to try some things with some lyrics and some vocals and all that. I have in the past, but I was honestly just been having so much fun playing guitar. I've just kind of let the music speak for itself, so to say. And yeah, just it's been great. I appreciate the feedback. This one I've really threw myself pretty hard into this one, and I wish I had another song that wasn't quite ready, but I thought these four songs represent a little bit of where I'm at, musically in terms of creating songs and just kind of finding whatever jams come up, and I catch them on, through the recording software and
Yeah.
build it up here and there, and before I know it, I got something. So
Yeah,
that's
and I know you say like you have so much fun playing the guitar, but you do it all on this album. You do the bass and the drums too, right?
the drums are actually drum tracked, so they're pre-recorded drum tracks. I get them from a guy. I discovered him online maybe a couple years ago, right around this time. It was right around Thanksgiving, as I recall. And he does. It turns out he does all kinds of drum tracks, but he does has a really nice selection of metal drum tracks, and he allows you to be able to purchase a commercial license to be able to use the tracks and whatnot. And yeah, he did. I think it was 2 years ago. Maybe it was last year. It was 2 years. Excuse me. He did a Black Friday deal, and just was just giving a bunch of drum tracks away, and I just went crazy, and I was like, oh, I got an album's worth of stuff here.
Yeah.
And so those are kind of the drum tracks that I've been working through so far. I've gotten through. I think I did a couple on my EP I released last time, so I got
Okay.
a good collection of them. I am interested in starting a band. I'm also looking in that direction. The drummer for me is always up and the whole time trying to be in different band situations. It's always the drummer is the biggest variable. So in
It
this
seems.
case,
Go
okay,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, you go.
I was gonna say, just in terms of creating the music and wanting to create music at this point, that's sort of what led me down more of a solo path. And using the drum tracks has been an efficient way to be able to get my creative fix and start building some songs in the process.
It seems like a lot of bands are looking for drummers. I think that, I don't know what it is. Maybe the drums are just a hard thing to get into, but it just seems like every band I talk to is looking for that key component in the drumming world, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it is. I think it really is the backbone of a band, and a lot of times when you're actually looking for places to practice and all that, usually it's the drummer's house because
Yeah.
to break down a good sized kit, especially someone who's experienced with, to break down a kit like that and just to bring it out to a practice for a few hours is kind of
Sure.
silly. So a
Yeah.
lot of times I've been in situations where, the drummer's got a space built out, but those band situations never actually worked out for me. I know so many fantastic drummers, and it's frustrating that it just never connected creatively in terms of doing stuff together, not more than some cover songs and that sort of thing, some jams or whatnot. So,
It
which
seems
was another reason that led me down my solo path.
it kind of is hard to find somebody, especially like in the metal world. There's so many like subgenres and variants that like it's hard to find somebody who wants the same stuff as you and the same creative juices
Yeah,
as you, I would say.
yeah, yeah. I read a lot about different bands and just like really well established bands that members end up parting ways due to just creative differences in terms of where their music is going. So yeah, it's interesting how much of a power struggle that can actually be in a lot of band dynamics. And So
Yeah.
just kind of doing my own thing has kept it pure and simple, and I'm not competing with anybody, and the drummer's never off, so that's always nice. If
Yeah.
anyone's off, it's going to be me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it encourages me how to stay in strict time with my playing, and try to be authentic to the recording of my tracks and everything and the song building.
So listening to your EP, now it has me, you have me curious. Do you write the guitar parts off of like what you have now with the drums, or do you find drums that match your guitar parts? Because it seems on your EP that they play so well together because like you don't have vocals that distract you. So you're focused on the drums and the guitars. And
Right.
I'm a struggling guitarist, so like I pay close attention to guitars. But it seemed like almost like a playfulness between like a balancing act between the drum programs, I guess, and your riffs. It just seemed to work really well together and just playful. So now, like, that's why I thought you just did the drums too.
Oh, right. Oh man, I wish I could play drums like that. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, yeah. I was like, man, this dude's a complete package. He's
Oh man.
producing, mixing, like, this dude's the man.
Yeah, I really like these. Yeah, and that was the thing when I've always had a thing for the drums. It's like for if like you just give me a beat and I can something just comes out, and just like it's always fun to jam with people because we can always draw something from it. So I was curious when I started with these drum tracks if I would still get that kind of a creative catch when I hear the drums, and sure enough, it did. And so I was just basically off and running and trying to create as much as I can. And I started to realize that I'm starting to do the same song over and over. I need to space out some of my creative recordings so I can have time to learn some new guitar licks and that sort of thing. So I can bring different guitar ideas into the picture too. Like I was mentioning, some vocals is not out of the question too. So
Yeah.
experiment with that a little bit also.
Well, it seems to
So
be
that's the
working real. Like it seems to work really well on this album. It flows really well too. Like it's very cohesive. Even like Ascendance is like a slower track to the bunch, but it's almost like a palate cleanser for the Fallout track. Like it just slows it down a little bit enough to make Fallout seem that much faster and heavier, you know?
that's cool. I appreciate that feedback. Yeah, it's the whole vibe of the album, and yeah, that's kind of that's exactly it for whatever reason I was intending to do when I put putting the song order together. And that particular song, when I was creating it took me a little while, and I went through it a bunch of times. I think I might have started over, and was coming up with some better guitar sounds. You can hear the little bit of the improvement of the guitar sound quality in that song versus the first two, and so you catch a little bit of my learning process in
Right.
there throughout the duration of those songs. And I felt like by the end I was starting to get a better recording sound out of the guitar, and my ideas were starting to be getting a little more unique and creative with some of my guitar expressions, and not being afraid to try some different things. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to the next batch.
It worked
My
really well,
learnings.
man. It worked really well.
Well, thank you. That's awesome. I never know where it's going to take me, so it's just something I dive into, and at the end of it, it's like, all right, these are cool, I guess. And
Yeah,
I
and like
always
it was
I always
misleading.
bounce them off of Curtis.
Well, it's misleading because Curtis came to me. Like Curtis will come to me. I've only been working with him for maybe like 6, 8 months, somewhere around there. And so he'll come to me with like, because I have Thrashology in the title, but I listen to all kinds of music, everything except country. And so I grew up on punk rock. So when he came over and was like, "Hey man, are you interested in like skate punk?" I was like, "Hell yeah!" Like that takes me back to like seventh grade, you know. And I started listening to it. I was expecting more of like a Bad Religion, Pennywise, Rancid sound.
Yep, yep.
And to me, like I heard some like vibrato in there and maybe some bends that remind me of more like Jeff Henneman from Slayer. And like I hear the bends and I'm like, that's not punk. These riffs are way too developed to be like a 3 chord basic punk song. It seems like this. So when it's billed as skate punk, I was looking for like a 3 chord song that was maybe like a minute and a half long, fuck the government type stuff, you know?
Right,
but
right.
like it was completely different. It was like an instrumental song that like
Cool.
bordered DRI to me. It sounded like a DRI,
Nice. Oh,
like a
that's awesome.
municipal waste. So
That's a
like,
great compliment.
and the cool things about it for me is like I started getting into some instrumental metal, and like I try to develop my own story is like what this song sounds like to me. And I thought for
Yeah,
your album, like I'm gonna do a video on it, but I think your album is almost like a journey. Like it starts off, there's like some climbing portions, there's some descent portions. Just the music is really a journey, and it's not just flatlined or just one tone straight throughout of like just hammering down on open strings for the whole song.
right.
It's a really nice album, and when you don't have the lyrics it causes you to focus on the music that much more. And so I was kind of nervous at first when he was like instrumental punk, but it really worked out well, and I was really happy with
Right
the
on.
listen. I liked it.
Oh, thank you. Hey, maybe that's funny. It was definitely there was some Slayer style, I guess, influence going into this. I think I was a little pent up and a little
Yeah,
bit of feeling wanting to put a little more aggression into the music, and I'm
yeah.
definitely a big Slayer fan, and Creator is another big band.
Oh. So
And so I saw Creator live recently, and I think after I saw him live, I was like, yeah, I need to step up some of my guitar riffs and that sort of thing.
when did you see him?
It was, let's see, it was when they came through. I actually saw them in Colorado. I'm in New York now.
Okay.
I just moved here over the last year, and I think it was 2 summers ago. So
Was it when they were with Merciful Fate?
it's yes, it was. It was.
I
Yep.
saw him on that same tour, and that was my first
Yeah.
time seeing Creator, and my first time
Yeah.
seeing Midnight too. I don't know if you saw Midnight.
Yep. I think I did remember seeing them. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I just interviewed their guitarist. I think last week or the week before. His name's Vanek, and he actually
Oh,
just
cool.
left Midnight. But I just interviewed him last week, and it was really cool. Like, but I can hear the Creator Slayer influence on Locomotion. That's where it sounds like you really like knuckled down into some chugging, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That one definitely has a little bit of that driving driving riff sound that was definitely on the thrash side, like you were saying. That's
Yeah, and
mm,
like I never understood that
I
as a
love
kid
that.
because like I always listened to punk and it seemed like the punk and the metalheads always like never got along. And it's such closely related music, you know? Like I don't know why there
Yeah.
wasn't ever a unity in the past.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe something of what I'm doing is a help to bridge the gap. And also I feel like I've maybe, it's always interesting to go back and listen to my earlier songs and kind of listen to the progression of my song creating and just kind of what it's become now. And yeah, maybe it is moving away from a more of a punk and getting into a more of a thrash like or
Yeah.
something in those realms, which I love too. I've had definitely a good run of thrash concerts over the
Yeah.
last year. I don't know if you caught the Bay Area Strikes Back tour. That was phenomenal. Which was
The Exodus Testament,
Exodus
Death
and
Angel.
Death Angel. Yeah, it was unbelievable. Seeing all three of those
The
bands
night
on the
they
same
came,
stage.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was to say that seeing all three of those bands on stage was just unreal. So good.
The night they came, I'm in Pittsburgh, and the night they
Oh,
came
nice.
to Pittsburgh, they had was the same night that Megadeth came to town with Lamb of God, Trivium, and In Flames, and
Oh,
they announced that tour first, so I bought tickets, and then Exodus is my favorite band, like of all time ever.
yeah.
So when they announced Exodus, I was like, "Fuck, man!" Like, and then like we went to Megadeth, and it wasn't really a good show because there was like a playoff hockey game that night, so the crowd kind of sucked. So like they
Right.
didn't put their
Understandable.
effort into it. And
Yeah.
but I just
Oh
caught
man.
Exodus last week, and it was a really good show.
Oh
So
sweet. Sweet. Yeah, Pittsburgh. I was actually just in Pittsburgh a month ago and saw Iron Maiden there. I don't know if you were at that one.
yeah, I was there.
Yeah, me too. That was definitely memorable.
Yeah, if I would have known you were in town, I would have met you for lunch or something. You know?
I know that's awesome. You just said you're in Pittsburgh. I was like, cool. I was just there. It was my first time ever,
Yeah,
and
that was a
that's
great show too.
yeah. Not being in Denver is a bit painful because they all stop in Denver. That's why I was seeing such great shows when I was there, especially when I knew I was getting ready to leave. I was hit everything we could.
And I noticed like from doing this, I started this channel on about the first of the year. So I've been doing this about a year. And like people have always reached out, and like the Denver, Colorado area has so much good music. Um that like I was blown away by how much great thrash is there with bands like I think
Yeah,
Havoc's from Colorado.
yeah.
Um I just
There's a
saw
lot
them
of good
last week
ones.
open for Exodus.
Oh, nice. Yeah, there's a lot of cool bands out there, and it's it was it was difficult to leave, and knowing that was that they have a really good metal scene. And I'm in Rochester, New York now, so it's a different vibe, but there's still some potential out there. So,
Yeah.
and we're close to Canada and Toronto, which I know is a huge metal capital. Getting into Canada there, Montreal's another big one.
Yeah, I just
And
discovered another
Ottawa.
band from Montreal yesterday. They're borderline punk thrash. Maybe I'll send them over to you. I can't remember their name. Their mom reached out to me and sent me over their stuff, and I thought that was pretty cool. Like, hey, mom's supporting thrash metal. Like that's awesome. Like, I wish my parents would have supported my endeavors like that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. So I checked them
Nothing
out,
wrong
and
with
I'm
that.
gonna reach out to them later. I'll send you their stuff over. It's pretty good.
Cool. Yeah, I'd love to hear it. It'd be great.
So what made you move to Rochester? Because I was
Uh,
looking, I didn't even know I had the right band because Curtis said you were from Rochester. And then when I went to band camp, it said Boulder, I think.
oh yeah, I
So
gotta
I was
change
just
that. You're
I was
right.
like, maybe I don't have the right band, but
Oh, thank you for pointing that out. I gotta correct that so it's not so misleading.
no
I
worries.
was in Boulder. Yeah, I was out there in Boulder. That's where I was getting into Denver and seeing as much as I could.
Yeah.
And about a year ago, I came back to Rochester. I'm from Rochester originally,
Okay.
and then it's just time to move back over here and be close to family and sort of start over in a little bit of a way. And with what I've been doing musically is doing my own thing. It's didn't really I could pick up and go do this pretty much wherever. So it wasn't like I had to disassemble a band or anything like that. Or
Sure.
so it was. I was in a space where it was a good time to do it, and we'll see where it goes from here in terms of building a band. But I'll always keep creating music and keep doing my own releases. And
It's nice to have the freedom too as a solo project.
I love that. Yeah, yeah, definitely. I do enjoy that part of it. And
Like if you
hopefully
want
it's
to record
hopefully it's
at
not
3
spoiling
a.m.
me too much.
Yeah, and like if you want to like record a song at 3 a.m., you don't need your band to show up.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, it's been cool about the drum tracks and just really giving putting myself on the accountability table. It's like, if nobody shows up, then it's my own fault. So
Yeah.
it's always been. But it's kind of cool once I get into a creative rhythm with creating songs and I start hearing stuff throughout the day, even if I'm not playing guitar or from at the day job or something like that, and my brain is still turning over the guitar licks that I was coming up with the night before and that sort of thing. So then when I get right back to the guitar, it's almost like I can pick up where I left off.
And that's
And,
like great mindfulness too to like, keep your mind going while like to pass time during the day. I'm sure day jobs suck.
yeah, no, I just hear it. I don't even. It's not even something I intend to do. It just kind of happens. The music just gets in my head, and I start thinking about different different ideas or different ways I can create a guitar expression or something. Usually it comes out pretty sloppy in the beginning, or a lot of
Yeah.
times it's just total accident. It's just like a complete one off that I happen to record, and then I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then I got to go back and learn how to play whatever it is I just played, and
Yeah.
that's fun because I feel like I'm really able to capture a lot of spontaneity when I do just my own solo stuff. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Now, since you're like by yourself and you do everything like the producing, the mixing, everything, do you find it hard to say like, okay, I'm done? Like this is it, this is final? Or do you feel like, oh, I could tweak this a little bit more? Or
Yeah,
you don't have
I,
anybody to kind of like, hey, this is good, man, just leave it go.
yeah, yeah. I feel like I'm getting better at that. It's not just over perfectioning it. But I, at the same time, through the process, that I never planned on doing my own kind of home production type stuff. It just sort of happened in terms of got tired of band situations, just, going into the gutter, and it's
Yeah.
like, screw this. I'm just going to stay home and create music. I had the software in my computer for probably almost a decade before I was like, finally sat myself down to learn how to use it. And that took time too. But as I got better with that, I was certainly, you can hear I'm able to create better recordings and everything. So I'm at a point now where I'm like, wow, I've actually learned a few things, and it doesn't, I'm not so, it's not so arduous to do the recording side of things.
Sure.
Even though I still have a lot of tech issues and my computer crashes constantly. But
Yeah.
that's all. Time for a new laptop. That's what I promised myself before I get into my next wave of song creating, because the one I have now just doesn't seem to be reliable in order
I
for me
I
to.
just upgraded Friday. We picked it up Sunday. We picked up the laptop, and I think like I was having problems getting the link to this over to Curtis because like I'm in between two computers, and then I upgraded my phone and everything else. So like now you know how Apple is, everything just doesn't
Yep,
connect,
yep. Everything's scattered right now.
and I'm from the 80s, so like I used pencils. Like we had those computers where the discs were like this big, so like I know nothing about tech.
Little
But
floppy disks.
yeah. And like the weirdest thing is like my neighbors make fun of me because like I just started learning how to play guitar maybe 2 years ago, and I got into this tech
Nice.
thing, like this YouTube channel, and I don't know anything about tech at all. So it's like the worst fit. But hey, I'm having fun doing it.
Yeah, that's all that counts. As long as you're having fun, you'll learn. As long as you're having
Yeah,
fun.
it's
The way I
it's
see
all
it.
about the journey. It's all about the journey.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's been, man. I think I was 19, so it's been close to turn 50 next month, or this
Yeah,
month now in December. So yeah, I started just out of high school, more or less.
yeah,
And it was actually Iron Maiden that did it for me. Once I heard Iron Maiden, probably listened to them for a year or two, and
yeah,
then was like, I want to learn how to play these songs, and that was it. And it
yeah,
was I remember my Christmas present where I got the songbook of classic Iron Maiden songbook. I think it's the first four albums,
yeah,
and yeah, and first electric guitar, and
yeah.
never looked back.
Yeah, I'm working on Aces High right now, but I don't have the speed yet.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
that's a fun song. Yeah, I love Power Slave. One of
so
my
is that where
favorites to
you
do too.
is that where your musical influences came from, or
Yeah, actually, yeah, you mentioned that. I think it's the third song. Is it, they have an instrumental song on there that's got no
Transylvania? I
lyrics,
think,
and
right?
no, Transylvania's off their first one. That one's Lost for Words,
Oh, you're
I
talking
think,
about Is that
on
what's that?
Power Slave. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah. They've had a few instrumental songs over. Yeah, you hear a couple on Killers and on the first album.
yeah,
What's the other one? Ides of March, I think, is another instrumental.
yeah,
Yeah, they got a few.
yeah,
That's I get a little bit of that instrumental metal influence from those particular songs, because I would always jam out on those when I was first learning, especially the early Iron Maiden albums. They were a little easier for me to follow versus
sure.
their later stuff.
Yeah, and those first albums had that punk feel to it. Like I always felt like
Yeah,
it was like a level of danger when you're listening to it. Like you could get
yeah,
stabbed at
absolutely.
any point.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. That must have been a cool time to be alive watching those guys when I was just born, basically. So,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
a little bit younger than you. I'll be 45 next year.
Oh,
So
nice. Yeah,
yeah,
no, you're right in the same generation, I would say. Just a
yeah,
few years doesn't make that much of a difference. If you
no,
know the '80s floppy disks, then they're pretty much there.
yeah. That was the start, I think, to tech.
Yep, yep.
But it also like because I was talking to this with a lot of bands too. Like I miss the 80s and 90s music industry where you could get a full album release at one time and it wasn't like a trickling out of songs for the algorithm.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Totally. And I hear a lot of people say that, and everyone seems to agree that attention spans are a little shorter, perhaps, than what they used to be. I still love to listen to full length albums.
Oh,
And I've
me
actually
too.
been thinking about that. Yeah, and I may end up doing something like that in this next compilation of songs. Do something, have a more of a collection of songs, and like I was mentioning, maybe do some experimenting with some vocals and see
Yeah.
how that turns out as well. So it'll give it another dimension of creativity that's still, I guess, unfolding as like you said, as the journey unfolds.
Sure.
It's definitely fun to just go and see where it takes you. That's the best part, I think, about music. And it's just music, so you can, you're always safe to go wherever you want because it's just music.
Right. I
Nice,
don't know.
nice
Them
piece
made
of
them
music.
when I was a kid, those Maiden albums felt treacherous. Like you're going down a dark path.
Yep, yeah, totally. Yeah, there's a lot of meaning in their lyrical content, and it's definitely,
Yeah.
there's a lot to it. No, they've been such an influence that I feel like I probably know their music better than I know any other. There's a few others that I'm very, very intimate with their albums, but I have to say Iron Maiden probably the most
I
the
think
most significant.
Derek Riggs' artwork was what drew me to Maiden, and that was the first metal album
Yeah,
I bought.
yeah,
And so
absolutely.
I
I
had to be
remember
like
being
maybe 9 or 10 when I bought my
yeah,
first Maiden album.
yeah. I remember being 5 when I guess at that point I think Killers was just coming out and wasn't I never had any I don't have any brothers, but my good friend that lived up the street, he had two older brothers, and one of his older brothers, I remember vividly as a 5-year-old seeing the album of Killers, and then he also had the Dio's Holy Diver,
Oh yeah,
which I'm pretty sure his mom ended up both confiscating both of those once she found them.
yeah.
But classic, classic memory of mine that was a seed that was planted when I was basically in kindergarten,
You should
and
call
then
that friend and thank him.
I do, I do definitely,
So
and
did
yeah.
so where did the punk side of the house come from? Did you listen to a lot of punk too?
Yeah, being the 90s was definitely my high school heyday time, so that was the time where like the grunge came in to the
Yeah,
scene. So I had some influence on that, and I definitely love some old, classic Bad Religion, like
yeah.
you're saying, that raw hard punk from the days. And there's so many cool bands that I love listening to. And I don't know. I think being self-taught, I'm definitely reliant on the power chords. So maybe
Yeah.
that gets where my foundation is. I mean that's probably the some of the first stuff I ever learned was just the basic power chord. And
Yeah.
there were I used to jam to the Offspring a lot.
Yeah.
Iron Maiden was a little out of my league, like I said, other than a few select songs in the beginning, anyway. And so I was doing a lot more simple stuff, a lot of more Offspring. I actually jammed out to Green Day for a little while, and I know it took me about a week to learn those songs. I was like, all right, they can't be that cool if I can learn them that fast.
I'm writing them
But,
down because
but they didn't teach me.
I'm
They
writing
taught
them
me well.
down because I'm gonna look up some songs. I've been working on Rancid because it seems a little bit easier than Maiden, you know?
Yeah, yeah, find a lot of yeah. I guess a lot to choose from. Yes,
Yeah. I got into
discovery.
Green Day and Offspring from I remember they used to have these compilation CDs where you could get like 100 songs for like $3. And
Yep.
I started listening to like Green Day and Offspring before they got big. And I remember all these kids made fun of me. And like first I got into metal and everybody made fun of me. And then metal got big. And by that time I was into punk rock. So everybody was making fun of me. And then punk rock got real big. But by that time I got back into metal. And it's just, I've been getting made fun of my whole life, but I've always been ahead of the curve.
Yep. Yep. Totally.
But
I
whatever.
remember when Slayer did Undisputed Attitude. That
Yeah.
really opened hearing them do punk style songs. When what Slayer was doing in the day. That's still one of my favorite releases that they've done. Just such a
They do a,
just real tribute.
they, they did a cover of on the Judgment Night soundtrack of the Exploited's UK 82, and I
Oh
think
wow,
they changed it to LA 92, and they sang about the 92 riots in LA. And I thought that was like Slayer covering the Exploited was by far like the greatest thing that probably ever happened to me, you know?
that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. So it was really good
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, I love that album for that. I think they do a DRI song, and there's a couple classic tunes that they cover, and it's so I love hearing it done up Slayer like.
So so do you have any gear that like you have to have to record? Like do you have that one guitar or do you like use several different guitars?
I have a few guitars. They're kind of just what I've had over the years. So the current, if you and some most of the videos that you'll see me playing a green Ibanez, that's kind of my go-to right now. I would like to get another nice one, but when the time is right, I'll do that. But this one is definitely. I've had this one. I think I've actually bought this guitar in the very beginning of my journey of song creating. I think that was it. I was like, I'm buying a new guitar and I'm creating song. And that was in 2016, I believe.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked back since. I feel like I'm still learning how to play this guitar. There's so much to it. And, there's
Yeah.
a lot that um, I feel like I'm finally able to focus and do more technique wise now that I've been playing for a little while and have a little more ideas I feel like I can explore on the guitar versus where I was in the previous years. So there's still plenty of learning room on this guitar for me, and I'm just of course it's the shiny object syndrome when you go into a guitar shop and you start
Yeah.
seeing all the nice ones.
Yeah. I always
I
go in
did
like
purchase.
I want
I'm
to go in to
sorry.
pick up like one string and next thing you know you're like I'm walking out with like an ESP or something, you know?
I know it's funny. I have this thing where I've recently been going to the skate park and I brought my guitar with me, so I've been like rolling around the skate park playing guitar, and I actually had a little portable, I'll say a little portable amplifier, or just a little. I can make a little noise. I can get a little sound out of it while I'm cruising around,
Yeah.
and I've been having a lot of fun doing that. And I told myself, all right, well, I got to get a guitar that I'd be more willing to allow to hit the ground if I happen to hit the
Right.
ground, sort of thing. I'm not going to use any of the nicer ones that I have.
Yeah.
And yeah, just the other day I went out and got one, and it turned out to be a really halfway decent. It's just a few $100, but it's a nice guitar, and I'm just like, oh, I don't even know if I want to skateboard with this one.
I'll
It's
have to go
cool looking.
get another.
Yeah, I know. So I just have to get one I can throw to the ground.
Are you
This
married?
one,
Because I don't know how your wife lets you do that. Mine hates it.
well, I'm not married, so that's one thing. But yeah, I
Yeah.
might have to go get a Walmart guitar, and just one of those I could at least practice with. And
We
then
have an artist here in
when I'm
Pittsburgh.
comfortable.
We have an artist here in Pittsburgh. He's always posting, but he's like playing shows in the middle of half pipes or like in the middle of a bowl. And I
Oh,
used to
cool.
I used to skate, but I'm all banged up, so I can't do it anymore. But I've always
Right.
thought like, that's a great way to incorporate or like even draw new fans in, you know?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I felt like I needed something to stand out, and then that was something I've always thought about doing. And then maybe a couple months ago, we got a new skate park around here, and we go in there on a nice Sunday morning. It's quiet, nobody's there, so I just like started rolling around, playing around with the idea, and then just something about doing those two activities at the same time. I've skated my whole life too, so I'm pretty comfortable on a skateboard. I can go out and have fun and make it home without getting injured and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So just to roll around, I mean, even more cautiously while I was playing guitar, just because I didn't want to end up
Yeah.
dumping the guitar on the concrete. I don't think it would survive too many of those.
Sure.
But actually, it was really natural and comfortable for me. I didn't have much trouble even
Yeah. Do you
with
do
my
more vert?
balance.
Do you do more vert or street? Probably street with a guitar.
Yeah, yeah, definitely it wouldn't work so much. It's like concrete, flow. You got little
Yeah.
pump track, and so it's got a nice little surfy, flowy kind of a park or some lines like that. Nothing. I want to work my way into doing some lip tricks, but like I was saying, I didn't want to
Yeah.
risk that throwing down one of the other guitars, but I don't know. I'll have
You'll have to send me a video if you get like lip tricks and stuff down. That
yeah,
has to
yeah.
be
So
like,
far, I'm up to a feeble fakie.
oh, that's pretty cool.
I want to be able to do a blunt. I was actually trying one the other day
With a guitar?
with the guitar. I only did it once, and it was like it didn't go well. There were a couple of guys skating. They're like, "That's what we want to see with the guitar," and I was like,
Yeah.
"I know. I gotta work my way up to it."
But I'm sure the guys telling you that were in their 20s, you know?
Yeah, they were kids. Yeah, they were just
Yeah.
getting a kick out of watching me. My friend was there catching some photos and doing some video, and I've been playing around with that a little bit, just
Yeah.
seeing how it feels. But it's a lot of fun. I love doing it.
Well, hey, I hate to cut this short, but we're running out of time.
Right on. Oh, I appreciate you taking the time. It's really inspiring to get such positive feedback about this music, and I really appreciate your words and your insight and what you're doing. I know you listen to a lot of music, so
Yeah.
coming from someone like yourself is definitely thank you.
Thanks, man. Well, no, it was all. Thank you for taking time out of your day to meet with me. I really appreciate it. I'm
Absolutely,
sure
absolutely.
you could be writing
Yeah.
riffs right now, but instead you're talking to me. You know.
No, it's all good, and yeah, you're right around the corner, and I got a friend in Pittsburgh where I got a place to stay. So if there's ever any good concerts coming up,
Yeah,
we could cross some paths.
we have a killer venue here too. I'll send you the link to their stuff. They're called Preserving
Awesome.
Underground. They're like 10 minutes from here, and
Oh, nice.
they're a record shop that in an old church that has three different like stages in the church, and they cater
Oh,
to just
wow.
metal and punk, and it's
Oh,
great.
that'd be worth the trip for me right there. It's just a few hours away.
So if you ever come to Pittsburgh, we'll meet up
Right on. No, that'd be great. I would love to see something like that. It'd be a great place to catch some
for
music.
sure.